Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of the Jay Stevens Podcast with your host, myself, Jay Stevens. It's been a while, and I appreciate anyone who's come back, or if you're, checking this out for the first time, check out the other podcasts. They're a little bit different than this one's going to be, and what I think the direction that I'm going to take this is. But they are still, put some work into those, put a good amount of effort into it, and, they're pretty good. So go check those out if you want some, inspirational stuff. I don't know, I feel like I've been inspirational in those, and I had, a Q&A and some conversations with my homies. Anyway, so today I wanted to start working on the new direction of what I think I want this to be, and that's a football podcast, all things, football, college, NFL, whatever, and I just wanted to see how this is going to go. So, football's something that I've been really passionate about for as long as I can remember. I've always loved watching, and, fantasy football, keeping stats, checking stats, debating everything football. And I am a huge Packers fan. If you know me, then you definitely know that. Sometimes it can be unfortunate, like when you lose 2 NFC championships in a row. But at least we got there. Pain. Anyway, huge Packers fan. I don't ask me how it happened, because I honestly don't know. Just as long as I can remember, I've been a huge Packers fan. My mom's a Cowboys fan, and my dad is a Panthers fan / Cowboys fan. So I I truly don't know how it happened, but it did. So here we are, and to take a look at the Packers, 2-1 on the season so far. Had a horrible, horrendous, terrible, absolutely gut-wrenching Week 1 against the Saints, where they got absolutely destroyed, absolutely and utterly embarrassed by the Saints and Jameis Winston. Where they lost 38-3, didn't even score a single touchdown in that game. And I watched the majority of that game. I had to turn it off because I got disappointed, and I couldn't handle watching the rest of it. Aaron Rodgers looked terrible, threw 2 interceptions, didn't throw for more than 100 yards. And like I said, no touchdowns. Nobody on offense was able to get anything going. We are missing David Bakhtiari, the all-pro left tackle, and that definitely does not help the case of our offense. But we've been able to do things, we've been able to do things without David Bakhtiari, and we are also missing a couple guys on defense and things like that. But no real excuses as to why the Packers lost so incredibly terribly. There's not really any good reason other than the fact that, the whole offseason drama with Aaron Rodgers, and my whole perspective on it is, I get where Rodgers was coming from with the whole, he doesn't like the way that people have been treated, veterans have been treated exiting Green Bay. Jordy Nelson, Randall Cobb, Clay Matthews, all of those guys were willing to take pay cuts to stay. But one of those, one of the things is it wasn't very beneficial to keep some of those guys. I mean, Randall Cobb is a great veteran presence, and I'm glad that they have him back. He's been able to make some good plays for us. And I think Aaron Rodgers needed to have somebody else that he could really trust. But the whole, I'm not showing up to OTAs, I'm not showing up to training camp, just makes him look like a chump. I love Aaron Rodgers. He's my favorite quarterback, but yeah, it's not a good look. And then when you come out and get blown out by 35 points in week 1 because you look terrible, it definitely goes to show why you should take some of that stuff more seriously, But moving past week 1, the Packers offense starts to get in a bit of a rhythm, right? They are looking like the normal Green Bay Packers, the regular Green Bay Packers that everyone is used to seeing. Rodgers comes out in week 2, goes 22 for 27, throws for 255 yards, has 4 touchdowns. Aaron Jones with 17 carries for 67 yards and a touchdown. Devontae Adams, 8 catches for 121 yards. Aaron Jones has 3 receptions for 48 yards, 3 touchdowns. Tunyon has a good game. He's got 3 catches for 52 yards and 1 touchdown. So you have the Packers against the Lions come out and they're down by 3 at halftime. And then they completely shut out the Lions in the second half. The defense starts to come into their own. Kevin King gets burned in the first half, and my feelings about Kevin King are about the same as any Packers fan has about Kevin King. But Rodgers and the Packers look really good, have a really strong week 2, and they play really well and come out with a win. And then you move to week 3 and have the very, very close game with the 49ers. They win by a last-second field goal from Mason Crosby. It's fantastic. Well, for us anyway, not for 49ers fans, unfortunately. But the 49ers score with 37 seconds left to make it 28-27 49ers. And then Rodgers drives down the field with 2 plays and puts him in a position for Crosby to kick a 51-yard field goal. He nails it. And they win by 2 on Sunday Night Football. And the Packers dominated the game for the most part. They had the 1 interception on Jimmy Garoppolo where Jair Alexander came all the way across the field. Rodgers goes 23 for 33, 261, and 2 touchdowns. Aaron Jones goes 19 carries for 82 yards and a touchdown. Devontae Adams has 12 receptions for 132 yards and a touchdown. MVS gets 3 catches for 59 and a touchdown after Aaron Rodgers overthrew him twice on week 2, Monday night against the Lions. Then you've got Alan Lazard who opens up the game. The first passing play, Aaron Rodgers throws for 42 yards to Alan Lazard. So the team looks really good. Everyone, plays really well. And honestly, it wasn't a game that I expected them to win very well. Then you've got, of course, Preston Smith, who had a really big sack on Jimmy Garoppolo, and Jair Alexander, who had the big interception. Now the Packers ended up not scoring off of that. I personally think they should have kicked a field goal instead of instead of going for it there. But, it ended up working out, and the Packers play pretty aggressively. They play go for it on fourth down, and, they they do it really well. They're pretty successful when that happens. So looking at the rest of the Packers' schedule, they have the Steelers this Sunday. And honestly, I think that's a game that they should win. Now, the Steelers beat Buffalo in Week 1, but the Steelers have not looked like good at all in the last couple weeks, and it's possible that this is the week that they turn around. I'm not sure what the status on Kevin King is going to be. I feel like if Eric Stokes ends up playing instead of Kevin King, then we should be fine. Eric Stokes had a couple of penalties called on him against the 49ers, but I don't personally think that the refs were very good in that game anyway, on either side. But Kevin King just has a tendency to get burned, so I don't know what his status is for that game. Not saying that would cost us the game entirely. It would definitely be up to a couple other things, but the Steelers have a pretty good defense. Big Ben in the offense, they need help. They look terrible. They have looked terrible every single week except for Week 1. And they didn't even look that great. They barely beat Buffalo. So taking a look at them, I think the Packers should have that one in hand. The following week, they have the Bengals, who beat the Steelers last week. They look really good so far. They have an overtime win over the Vikings. And the Vikings looked really good against Seattle. So the Vikings don't look like they're a terrible team, but I think the Packers should have that one in hand. So that would put them at 5-1 at that point, or 4-1. My apologies. If they were to win the next two games, then they would have the Bears the following week, which I think is a game that they can win. Especially if Matt Nagy's still the coach. Matt Nagy has been completely and utterly awful when it comes to coaching the Bears. So I'm very surprised that he's still the head coach. I'm surprised that he hasn't been fired yet. But anyway, the Bears haven't looked that great. They have the one win, close game. They barely squeak out, but it should be a game that the Packers can win, and that would move them to 5-1 at that point. The following week, they'll have the Washington football team, and I think that's a game they can win pretty well, pretty convincingly, I would say. The Washington football team defense is very good when they're not getting exposed by Josh Allen, but the Packers didn't seem to have a problem with them last year. So I think it's a game that they can definitely win. Then they have a real test, so to speak, in the Arizona Cardinals, and a potential candidate for MVP, Kyler Murray, in prime time. So I think that is and it's going to be on a short week too. It'll be on a Thursday night. That's definitely going to be a test for Green Bay. Both teams have looked good the past couple of weeks. The Cardinals, obviously 3-0. They will face the 3-0 Rams this Sunday, so we'll see how they look after that. But obviously the Cardinals are a team who have all the tools. Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins. The only thing that concerns me about the Cardinals is the run game. Their run game is meh. They have Chase Edmonds, and he's done pretty well so far, but I think the Packers' defensive line should be able to handle Chase Edmonds. My fear would be Kyler Murray. He is a very clutch quarterback. Obviously, the Hail Murray last year against Buffalo, and he'll be playing the king of the Hail Mary. So that'll be an interesting game. I want to say that the Packers can edge that one out, but I'm going to give it to the Cardinals just for the sake of I don't think the Packers will be completely perfect. So at that point, that would move them to 6-2, 7-2, 6-2. Yeah, so at that point they'll be 7-2, and then they'll have a tough matchup with the Chiefs, who haven't looked all that great thus far. But you can never count out Patrick Mahomes. I don't think that Aaron Rodgers has played Patrick Mahomes since Patrick Mahomes has been one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I don't think they have actually played against one another. I could be wrong, but I know last year when the Packers played the Chiefs, that Patrick Mahomes was injured. So I wouldn't be surprised to see the Packers drop a game to the Chiefs, but with the way the Chiefs have looked so far and with a defense that isn't that great, I think that game will be a shootout, but I'm going to give it to the Packers, which would at that point put them at 7-2. Then they've got a game against the Seahawks the following week, so they've got 3 back-to-back-to-back tough games, who all of them are pretty good teams, the Cardinals, the Chiefs, and say what you want about the Seahawks, they are 1-2. They got run all over by Derrick Henry in week 2, and they end up dropping one to the Vikings this past week. But I definitely think you can never count out the Seahawks. Russell Wilson, Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf. The defense is definitely not what it used to be, but like I said, you can never count them out. I still give the win to the Packers, moving them to 8-2. But I definitely think that the Seahawks will give them a run for their money. So, moving on, the Packers will have the Vikings. I think they will win that game. The Vikings are good, but I think the Packers are better. Then they will have the Rams the following week. Now, the Rams are that's going to be a tough game for the Packers. I definitely think that the Rams are probably the best team in the NFL right now. It's going to be hard to say going forward, but I think the Packers will definitely give them a run for their money. However, I'm going to give the edge to the Rams with everything that I know right now, barring any injuries or anything like that. Matt Stafford's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, and now he's finally getting a chance to show it with a team around him where he's not constantly getting hit or running for his life. So that would move the Packers with their 3rd loss. The Packers will beat the Bears again after their bye week. They will play the Ravens, who I think they will beat. The Ravens are a very good team, but I think the Packers will still win. Then they will play the Cleveland Browns, who are a very, very good team. The Packers are not notorious for their run defense, and Nick Chubb will be a problem. But they were able to beat Derrick Henry and the Titans last year. Granted, it was at Lambeau in the snow, but I don't think they should have too much of a problem. I think that if we have the O-line back to being fully healthy by then, the Cleveland pass rush with Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney should not be a problem. I'm going to give the Packers the win on that one as well. Packers have 3 losses so far. You know what? I could see them dropping one to the Browns. So I'm going to give them their fourth loss to the Browns, and then they will play the Vikings and the Lions again, and I think they will win both of those teams. So with my predictions, I think the Packers come out to 12-4. That should be right? So there's 17 weeks now, so 16 games, yeah. The Packers come out to 12-4, and they will win the NFC North. That is definitely how I see it going. Now, the grade that I give the Packers through week 3 so far, I'm going to give them an A-. They look good, but the week 1 matchup still concerns me. I think Aaron Rodgers is getting back into the groove, but we're going to give them an A- for the time being. Now, I'd like to move on to the Dallas Cowgirls. Like I said, my mother's favorite team. Tim the Tapman's favorite team. You know, if you're a Cowgirls fan, then I am sorry. Anyway, through week 3, the Cowboys look pretty good. They are 2-1, just like the Packers. And Dak Prescott has been fantastic. I think Dak Prescott is a better quarterback now than he has been in a very long time. I think last year he would have been on track to win MVP before he got hurt. This year, I think he will definitely be winning Comeback Player of the Year. You look at Week 1 against the Buccaneers, where he throws the ball 58 times and completes 42 of those passes for 403 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. That game, Zeke doesn't run the ball very well, averages 3 yards a carry, 33 yards on 11 carries. And the Cowboys come up short by 2 points off Tom Brady getting the team into position for a field goal. They move on to week 2 to beat the Los Angeles Chargers 20-17 in a very close back and forth matchup. Prescott throws the ball 27 times for 23 completions, 237 yards, and an interception. Tony Pollard runs for over 100 yards. Zeke runs for 71 yards on 16 carries. Both of them have a touchdown. And, you know, the Cowboys look decent in that game. The Chargers look okay in that game as well. It was a pretty defensive game for the most part. Lower scoring. Cowboys win off a last-second field goal. And then they move into week 3 and obliterate the Eagles. Absolutely make them look like fools. Prescott throws the ball 26 times, completes 21 of those passes, 238 yards and 3 touchdowns. Zeke has 2 touchdowns on the ground and 95 yards on the ground on 17 carries. So they're looking quite impressive. Dalton Schultz, the tight end, has 6 catches for 80 yards and 2 touchdowns. And CeeDee Lamb has 66 yards off 3 receptions, plays pretty well. Anthony Brown with a pick on Jalen Hurts. Trayvon Diggs with a interception, pick 6 on Jalen Hurts. Now, the Eagles did score a defensive touchdown on the Cowboys. They, I want to say, the stats don't say that it's an interception. I think they're considering it to be a fumble. I'm not 100% sure, but according to the statistics that I've looked at, they never considered Dak had an interception. I guess they would have considered that to be a fumble in the end zone, where Fletcher Cox recovers it for the touchdown, but the ball never touches the ground. It's kind of just stripped out of knocked out of Dak's hands, bounces off a couple people, ends up in Fletcher Cox's hands, and it's a touchdown. that was the only real mistake that the Cowboys make in that game. Looking at them overall on the season, Dak Prescott has done very, very, very well so far. He has a 77.5% completion percentage through 3 games, 878 yards, which I think puts him at 6th or 7th in the NFL. 6 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. And yeah, he's played really well for coming off the injury. Like I said, they're 2-1, and you've got Zeke, who now almost has 200 yards on the season with 3 touchdowns. He's finally getting back into a rhythm. Zeke also has caught all of the passes thrown to him by Dak Prescott. You have the receiving core looking really good. CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Dalton Schultz, Michael Gallup, all of those guys looking pretty good so far. Amari Cooper bringing in 73% of his catches. Cedric Wilson Jr. bringing in 77%. Dalton Schultz bringing in 93% of his catches. So that is definitely a good team so far. They have the Panthers coming up this week, which I think will be a tough game. It'll be a test for both of those teams to see who is really real. I think the Cowboys are going to win that game. I think the Cowboys are a better team overall, and I think this one's going to be a low-scoring defensive battle like the game against the Chargers was. I guess you can consider 37 to be relatively low-scoring, but 37 points together, but I think the Cowboys will have this one. Then they've got the Giants and the Patriots right before their bye week. I think they will beat both of those teams. They come back from the bye week, have the Vikings, and I think they will beat the Vikings. Then they've got the Broncos and the Falcons. I think they will beat both of those teams. So they will have only lost 1 game to that point. They would be sitting at 8-1 when they play the Kansas City Chiefs at Arrowhead, and I think they will lose to the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs will get back into their rhythm, and they will lose to the Chiefs. Then they've got the Raiders, who I can't tell if they're a good team or a bad team. I think the Cowboys will beat the Raiders. They will beat the Saints. They will beat the Washington football team. They will beat the Giants and the Washington football team. Lose to the Cardinals, and they will beat the Philadelphia Eagles. I think the Cowboys will finish with 2 losses on the season to the Buccaneers, or 3 losses, 1 to the Bucks, 1 to the Chiefs, and 1 to the Cardinals, which would have them at 13-3, and they will win the NFC East. They could potentially drop 1 game to the Washington football team, but I don't see that happening as the Cowboys' offense is much better. So moving on from the Cowboys, taking a look at the Cincinnati Bengals, who are 2-1 so far on the season. They lose the 1 game to the Bears by 3 points, which I'm still not sure how you lose to the Bears, but they have the overtime win week 1 against the Vikings, and honestly, one of those teams should have won that game way sooner. Then they come out this week and they beat the Steelers by 2 scores, 2 touchdowns, and they have the Jags this Thursday. I think that will definitely be a game that the Bengals win pretty easily. Joe Burrow's looked pretty good this season. He's got a 70% completion, 4 interceptions on 7 touchdowns. It's an okay ratio, and he has thrown for 640 yards. So obviously not the best. They have the Jaguars, which I think they will win. They will play the Packers, which I think they will lose. I think they will also lose to the Lions in Detroit. I think they will also lose to the Ravens. They will beat the Jets. Then they will lose to the Browns. I think they will beat the Raiders. Hot take. They could lose, but I think they will beat the Raiders. I think they will lose the second game. Actually, I want to say that they'll lose the second game to the Steelers, but I'm going to go with they win. They will lose to the Los Angeles Chargers, and they will lose to the 49ers as well. They will beat the Denver Broncos. They will lose to the Ravens once again, lose to the Chiefs, and lose to the Browns. So while I think the Bengals are a better team than they were last year, I think the only games coming up that they win are against the Jaguars, the Jets, the Raiders, and the Steelers. So they will have 6 wins in total, putting them at 6-10 on the year. Sorry, Bengals fans, I really don't see them doing better than that. But who knows? Maybe they beat the Packers and I get really sad. They could beat the Packers and I get very upset. And their grade through week 3, I give them a B-. The Cowboys, I give an A. I forgot to give my grade for the Cowboys, but I give the Cowboys an A. Moving on to the Los Angeles Rams. They have the Cardinals coming up this week, which I think will be a tough game for them. But like I said earlier, I think they are the best team in the NFL, and I think they will pull that game out pretty easily. And Matthew Stafford is a great quarterback. He looks great. He's played fantastic so far. They beat what was considered the best team going into the season, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, this past Sunday in a fantastic game, beating them 34-24. They've put up over 25 points a game every single game, beating the Bears week 1 34-14, beating the Colts 27-24. That's a much closer game. The Colts have a good defense, and I'm not surprised that that game was a little bit tougher. And then they come out and beat the Bucs 34-24. The Bucs started to mount a comeback, but it was thwarted by the Rams defense, who I think is probably the best one in football at the moment. Jalen Ramsey playing all over the field, and Aaron Donald, of course. The pass rush is absolutely horrifying sometimes if you're the opposing quarterback. Now, Matthew Stafford has a 70% completion percentage. He's thrown for 942 yards, which is 5th in the NFL, 9 touchdowns and 1 interception. So 9-to-1 interception ratio. That's pretty freaking good. He's got a 129 QB rating, and that's pretty impressive. Oh, I'm sorry. It's a not 129. I was gonna say it's absolutely crazy. His QBR is 82. I'm sorry, which is still really good. Still very, very good. The Rams overall have a very good team. Cooper Kupp has played fantastically. Absolutely fantastically. With 25 receptions and 367 yards. That's like a third of Matt Stafford's yards have gone to Cooper Kupp. He's got 5 touchdowns, so more than half of Matt Stafford's touchdowns have been to Cooper Kupp. That is a scary, 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 scary duo. A scary, scary duo. They have done very well so far. You've got Robert Woods as well with 124 yards and a touchdown. Sony Michel with 115 yards on the ground. That was a good pickup for the Rams from the Patriots, along with Darrell Henderson, also just above 100 yards with 123 rushing on the season. Tyler Higbee, the tight end, has 116 reception yards. Van Jefferson has 136. And Deshaun Jackson, going off against the Buccaneers, now has 141 and a touchdown off of 5 catches for the Rams. So the Rams, like I said, look really good. I personally think that they're the best team in the NFL right now. 3-0, Can't complain about that. They've played very, very well. The defensive coordinator, Raheem Morris, is looking like he's coming into place. And, of course, Sean McVay, one of the best coaches in the league, in my opinion. They look very good. Matt Stafford is my favorite quarterback, one of them. Just a little bit behind Aaron Rodgers. Love the Georgia boy. I am absolutely just over the moon for the fact that he is playing so well, and he is in a much better spot now than he was in Detroit. And just to see him in a much better spot is very thrilling. So, all right, just a couple more things that I want to get to. I was asked to take a look at the Chargers and Chiefs game and break that down a little bit. The crazy thing is, the Chiefs, widely considered one of the best teams in the NFL, even still now at 1-2. Even at 1-2, they've looked, they've looked decent, and the Chiefs are a very, very good team. Patrick Mahomes is one of the best quarterbacks in football at all. He's played at a high level over the last couple of years. He doesn't look like the Patrick Mahomes that we have seen, at least through the first couple of weeks. They have the close win over the Browns in week 1. The comeback victory where they look like, their normal selves. Getting down and then making the comeback. But Patrick Mahomes has 3 interceptions through the first 3 weeks. That's not something that you see often from him. 9 touchdowns already on the season, 70% completion. He's got 940 yards passing, which I believe puts him just behind Matt Stafford, if I'm not mistaken. Just behind Matt Stafford by 2 yards. That puts the Chiefs' passing game just behind the Rams, so they are number 6 in the NFL in passing. And Patrick Mahomes, you can never count him out, in my opinion. He is one of the best quarterbacks in the league by far, if not the best quarterback in the league right now. I definitely won't say he is. I think that title belongs to Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady. Right now, I would definitely give it to Tom Brady. He's playing at MVP caliber level. So that's it's very, very impressive for Tom Brady to play at such a high level at this point in his career, especially. So looking at the Chargers and Chiefs game, they played their hearts out. It came down to the end when the Chargers take the lead with how much time to go? Let me see here. They take the lead with 1 minute and 10 seconds to go, and the Chiefs run 5 plays. They're not able to get back in the groove, and they end up losing to the Chargers, who I definitely don't think are a bad team. I think the Chargers are definitely a great team. Justin Herbert throws the ball 38 times, completes 26 of them for 281 yards and 4 touchdowns. He goes absolutely crazy. Austin Eckler has a good day on the ground, 55 yards on 11 carries, so 5 yards a carry. Mike Williams goes absolutely crazy receiving, 7 receptions for 122 yards and 2 touchdowns. He plays great. Austin Eckler with 6 catches and 52 yards and a touchdown through the air as well. The game starts out with a punt from the Chargers, a 3-and-out drive. Kansas City takes the ball back, and they're driving. They get down. They get 63 yards, and then Patrick Mahomes throws a pick. The Chargers can't capitalize. They punt. The Chiefs fumble. Then the Chargers score a touchdown. Then we get into the second quarter. The Chiefs fumble again. Then the Chargers take over and score. Then you got back-to-back punts for each team. The Chiefs finally get on the board towards the end of the half, right before the 2-minute warning with a field goal. 14-3 going into the half. Chiefs come out, score a touchdown. Then the Chargers punt, and the Chiefs score another touchdown to take the lead. Chargers score a touchdown right back, 21-17. We move into the fourth quarter. The Chiefs score a touchdown, 24-21 Chiefs. Chargers come out, kick a field goal. It's tied at 24 with not much time left to go in the game. Chiefs, 3 plays. Patrick Mahomes throws an interception, and the Chargers capitalize. Justin Herbert passes to Mike Williams for a touchdown to take it to 30-24. Not a minute and 10 left. I'm sorry, I meant 32 seconds earlier. The Chiefs have 32 seconds to score. They can't do it, and they end up dropping to 1-2. But like I said, taking a look at Patrick Mahomes' stats, he's 2 yards behind Matt Stafford. He's got 2 more interceptions, but I definitely don't think the Chiefs are bad. I don't think this is something for the Chiefs to freak out about. Clyde Edwards-Helaire has 189 yards on the ground, 2 fumbles overall. Tyreek Hill with 267 receiving yards. Travis Kelce with 289 on the season. So they've looked good. They've just come down to these really close games. And, you know, they have another really close game against the Ravens last week where they, you know, barely lose. They lose in the last couple of seconds to Lamar Jackson. And the Ravens able to get down and kick a field goal. So they lose in the last couple of seconds to the Ravens. The Ravens squeak by the Chiefs, who are the AFC giant. And then they drop one to the Chargers here, which I don't think is a huge deal. The Chiefs' schedule coming up, they've got the Eagles, which should be a shoo-in for a win. They've got the Bills, who will be a tough game, but I think the Chiefs can pull that one out, depending on how their defense plays against Josh Allen. Then they've got the Washington football team, which should be a decently easy win. They've got the Titans, who honestly I think could go either way, but I think the Chiefs will win that game. They've got the Giants, who I think the Chiefs will beat quite convincingly. Then they come to the Packers. Let me see, is that game at Lambeau? It is not. It is in Arrowhead, which changes my prediction a little bit from earlier. I would say that this match is going to be a toss-up. This is going to be one of the best games we've seen all season, I think. It's going to be a very close, very competitive game. I think the Packers are going to be able to come away with the win, but I would not be surprised to see the Chiefs win that game. I think they will go on to beat the Raiders, who have the best passing game right now in the league. They've played the Steelers, the Ravens, and who's the other team that they beat? Oh my gosh, I'm blanking so hard. They beat the Dolphins, right? Yeah. They beat the Dolphins. They beat the Dolphins pretty convincingly, too. It's a 3-point game in overtime, but the Raiders controlled that game. They controlled that game pretty much all the way to the end. They beat the Ravens in overtime in week 1 in one of the best games we've seen this season. But they, like you see here, they've played a lot of close games, beating the Ravens 33-27, beating the Steelers 26-17, which that game was the worst game I've seen this season. It was boring to watch. Both teams just kind of messed up all game, in my opinion. And then they pretty convincingly beat the Dolphins, but they go in overtime and almost lose that game. So they've got the Chargers coming up this week, and I think that's going to be their first real test. But I definitely think the Chiefs will beat the Raiders. Then they will play the Cowboys, and I think the Chiefs will beat them. The Chiefs will beat the Broncos, then they will beat the Raiders again. Then we'll have the rematch with the Chargers, which I think could go either way. I'm going to say that the Chiefs win this one. They will beat the Steelers, they will beat the Bengals, and then they will beat the Broncos. I think the Chiefs will come back to win the AFC West, unless the Chargers end up winning it. I don't know too much about the Chargers' schedule. That can be a team that we look at potentially next week, or next time I do this, which will probably be either next Tuesday or Wednesday. But we are running short on time. I was going to talk about the Georgia Bulldogs a little bit, but I think I'm going to open with that next episode. They are going to be playing Arkansas this weekend, which I think will be a huge test for them. I think that sitting at 4-0 with the opponents that they've had, they beat Clemson, they've played UAB, they beat South Carolina, and they just beat Vanderbilt 62-0. Arkansas has looked pretty good so far, but I honestly think that Georgia has the best defense in the NCAA, and I don't think that they will lose to Arkansas. But I want to look at them a little bit more in depth next week. I'm going to go ahead and cut this off because we've been here for a while. I appreciate you guys stopping by. If you have any questions or anything for me, anything you guys want to debate me on maybe, or if you potentially want to come on as like a guest and talk some football with me, my DMs are open. If you have my number, you can always text me, anything like that. So if you guys want to see some more of this, just let me know. I think I'm going to do these because this has been pretty fun. I've enjoyed looking at all this stuff. So, yeah, I appreciate you guys stopping by, and hope you all have a great rest of your day. Thank you once again. God bless, and peace out.